My name is Thomas Lovehart, and I'm running for Utah House District 71 as a progressive independent against the Republican incumbent Rex Shipp. And I want to take a few minutes today to talk about cloud seeding. Utah already has one of the most ambitious cloud seeding programs in the country, with a budget that has surged from $200,000 to nearly $5 million in just 3 years. And we know why. This is an admission. This winter has been the driest and warmest on record in the last 100 years. We are no longer debating whether climate change is going to reshape our future here in Utah. We are living inside the outcome. The snowpack is shrinking, the droughts are longer, the fire season is earlier and deadlier, and the water systems that our state was built on are no longer reliable. For those of you who don't know what cloud seeding is, it sounds like something out of science fiction. It's a process of injecting iodized silver particulates into the atmosphere to encourage particles to bond together and to make storms rain more or snow more. The thing about geoengineering the weather anywhere is that it's going to affect the weather in other places. The world's weather systems are interconnected. So what we do in Utah doesn't just affect Utah weather, it affects weather across the Southwest, weather across the country and across the world. But we're doing it, and our future looks like we're gonna have to keep doing it and do it more. And the thing is, we won't be the only state doing it in the future. States like Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado are all going to be investing giant sums in the future to control their weather and to make it rain more, because we spent the last 20 years doing not enough about climate change. That said, cloud seeding is not a silver bullet solution to our water scarcity issues in the future, so much as it is a stopgap, a way to buy time in a future where water scarcity is no longer a future risk to our communities, but rather a permanent condition of life here in the Southwest. In this era of climate catastrophe, cloud seeding is one of the few tools left to us that is proven, relatively low cost, and locally controlled. In a state where snowpack determines our water future, even modest increases in precipitation can mean more reliable drinking water, stronger agriculture, less wildfire risk, and greater resilience for our rural communities. Using the available science that exists today to protect our shared resources from climate change, including cloud seeding and including solar panels and geothermal, everything that we have, including carbon capture technologies, is essential to the future of our great state. But we should be honest about what this represents. As a society, we missed critical windows to prevent the worst effects of climate change. And now we're looking at a future where we have to contend with the permanent effects of that. Utah will feel that reality acutely. Hotter summers, longer droughts, more deadly wildfires, shrinking reservoirs, stressed ecosystems, and as always, rising pressures for working families, farmers, tribal nations, as the conflict grows surrounding who gets access to what's left. Climate engineering should never become a substitute for reducing emissions long term, but in a post-climate change world, adaptation is no longer optional. This should disturb all of us, like it disturbs me, and hopefully it does, but choosing inaction only accelerates the collapse. My approach with talking about climate change is to be honest about where we are today and to be cautious about the tools that we choose to normalize as we begin to contend and adapt to this climate future. And I want to remain committed to using them transparently and democratically, because it's going to affect all of us, and we should all have a say in what solutions or lack thereof are being used to respond to the effects of this, while we continue fighting for a more stable and more livable future for everyone. Ignoring the reality is not going to protect Utah. We can't bury our heads in the sand as our winters disappear. Facing reality might save us. A Utah without snow is an economic and social disaster. Billions of dollars in our economy erased. Millions of jobs. If I'm elected, I will work with the Utah water divisions to drastically expand cloud seeding programs here in Utah. And furthermore, we should begin investing in carbon capture. Every state has to do its part, but until there is federal legislation aimed at reducing the emissions that have already been released into the atmosphere, then Utah should lead the way in pioneering climate adaptation and reducing emissions as a red state. I propose that we pay for this by imposing a progressive tax on any water usage exceeding 150,000 gallons annually. That is over twice the average water usage in the state, therefore would only apply to the worst offenders among us. That is big agriculture, data centers, and other corporations. I'm talking about alfalfa farms, which I love farmers, but frankly, that crop does not belong in a high desert environment, and it is draining our aquifers and putting us at so much more risk than the benefit that it provides to our state. And a small group make millions while the rest of us have to contend with a future where there's water shortages, skyrocketing water rates, and devastated ecosystems. And this will not stifle our economy, it will save it. They can afford it. We're talking about trillion-dollar industries with a few dozen of them being nearly solely responsible for climate change on this planet. And asking them to do their part to help us fight it is the bare minimum. Oil companies like Shell and Chevron have known since the 1960s that emissions from automobile use was going to lead to man-made climate change disasters. Yet they chose to conceal that and instead to fund a decades-long propaganda war, which has led to the politicization of climate change, where now it's seen as a left versus right issue instead of a people versus corporations issue, instead of a protect the planet or let it burn issue. I honestly believe it's only a short matter of time before climate politics begin to get embraced by the right wing, but we have to be ready to accept and welcome allies in this fight. As always, my name is Thomas Lovehart, and you can learn everything about me and my platform at votelovehart.com. And this is a real long shot race. I'm in a plus 52 Republican district. So if you believe in my message and you want to see real change elected in Utah, then please consider donating to my campaign. This is as grassroots as it gets, and no amount is too little. My opponent, Rex Ship, cares more about the culture war and dividing us along lines like religion and race and sexual orientation and gender, more than he cares about helping working class Utah families and protecting our future from threats like climate change, which he says is a hoax.